For more powerful stories of betrayal, justice, and strength, subscribe and stay connected. Inside a family is not a sudden explosion, it is a slow, corrosive poison that eats away at love, memory, and identity. When trust is broken by a stranger, the wound is painful. When it is broken by blood, it is devastating. A child is raised on sacrifice, protection, and unconditional loyalty. Every meal skipped, every night spent worrying, every dream postponed becomes a silent promise. I will never harm you. So when that child becomes the one who deceives, the betrayal is not just emotional, it is existential. It forces a parent to question every moment of love they gave, and whether it was ever truly seen or valued. This kind of betrayal does not come with shouting or warning signs. It often arrives smiling, speaking in familiar tones, using the language of family to disguise its intent. I'm just helping. Trust me. I've got this. Those words become weapons when spoken by someone who knows exactly where your defenses are weakest. Family trust is built on access to finances, to vulnerabilities, to private fears. When that access is exploited, it is no longer just dishonesty, it is violation. What makes betrayal within family so brutal is the imbalance of moral expectation. Parents are taught to forgive endlessly, to excuse behavior, to believe love will correct what discipline cannot. Betrayers inside families rely on that conditioning. They gamble on mercy. They assume silence. They count on guilt to keep their victim quiet. And often, they are right. Many parents endure betrayal in silence, not because they are weak, but because society shames them into protecting the image of family at the cost of their own dignity. This betrayal reshapes reality. The kitchen table becomes a place of suspicion. Conversations feel rehearsed. Smiles feel transactional. The victim begins to realize that trust has been weaponized against them, that love itself was used as camouflage for exploitation. And the most painful truth emerges: the betrayal was not impulsive. It was calculated, planned, rehearsed in the betrayer's mind long before it ever happened. There is a unique cruelty in family betrayal because it destroys safety, not just trust. Home stops being a refuge. Blood stops being reassurance. The victim is left carrying grief that has nowhere to go, because mourning the loss of who someone was while they are still alive is a special kind of suffering. It is mourning without funerals, without sympathy cards, without permission. Yet betrayal also reveals something powerful. It exposes who believed love meant entitlement, and who understood love meant responsibility. It draws a hard line between those who honor sacrifice and those who exploit it. In that clarity, something shifts. The victim stops seeing themselves as foolish and starts seeing the truth: trust was not misplaced, it was abused. And when trust is betrayed within family, the reckoning must be absolute. Not loud, not emotional, but firm. Boundaries replace blind faith. Accountability replaces excuses. Love no longer means access. Blood no longer means immunity. Because betrayal within family is not just a personal wound, it is a moral crime. And once the illusion of loyalty is shattered, the survivor no longer owes silence, softness, or self-sacrifice. They owe themselves protection. And that decision, quiet, resolute, unshakable, is where true power begins. Financial abuse is one of the most silent yet devastating forms of violence, because it doesn't leave bruises, it leaves dependence, fear, and erasure. When money is weaponized inside a family, it is no longer about currency, it is about control. It begins subtly disguised as concern or assistance. Let me manage this for you. You don't need to worry about the bills anymore. These statements sound protective, even loving, but underneath them lies a hunger for power. The abuser knows that money represents autonomy, security, and choice. To control finances is to control freedom itself. What makes financial manipulation especially cruel is how deliberately it exploits trust and vulnerability. The victim often depends on the abuser emotionally, physically, or generationally. In many families, elders are taught to lean on their children, to accept help with gratitude, to step back and let the younger generation lead. That cultural expectation becomes the perfect opening for exploitation. Passwords are requested, signatures are guided, decisions are rushed, and slowly, almost invisibly, ownership shifts. Financial abuse thrives in confusion. Numbers are hidden behind jargon. Transactions are buried in statements no one thinks to read. The victim is overwhelmed, made to feel incompetent, embarrassed to ask questions. When suspicion arises, it is brushed off with irritation or mockery. You're imagining things. You don't understand how banking works. Gaslighting becomes the shield that protects the theft. The goal is not just to take money, but to dismantle confidence so the victim no longer trusts their own instincts. The most dangerous aspect of financial manipulation is its psychological aftermath. Once resources are stripped away, escape becomes harder. Legal action feels intimidating without funds. Speaking out feels risky when survival is at stake. The abuser counts on this paralysis. They expect silence born of fear, not forgiveness, and when the abuser is family, the shame deepens. Victims are conditioned to believe exposing financial abuse is a betrayal, even when they are the ones being robbed. But financial abuse leaves a trail. It always does. Paper remembers what people deny. And when the victim awakens to the truth, the power dynamic begins to reverse. Knowledge becomes a weapon. Documentation becomes armor. The very system used to exploit banks, laws, signatures, becomes the instrument of justice. Financial manipulation collapses the moment transparency enters the room. In the end, financial abuse is not a misunderstanding. It is not help gone wrong. It is a deliberate act of domination. And when it is exposed, the abuser loses more than money. They lose credibility, authority, and the illusion that blood grants immunity. Because in any society that values justice, stealing independence is as criminal as stealing cash. True revenge does not announce itself. It does not rant, threaten, or beg for acknowledgement. It waits. Silent preparation is the art of restraint, of swallowing shock, controlling emotion, and choosing strategy over impulse. When betrayal strikes, the natural reaction is confrontation. But those who prepare in silence understand a deeper truth. Emotional reactions warn the enemy. Calm confuses them. Silence disarms them. Silent preparation begins the moment the victim stops asking why and starts asking how. How did this happen? How long has it been happening? How is it documented? Every detail becomes a piece of intelligence. The victim observes rather than reacts. They collect evidence quietly, methodically, without changing behavior. To the betrayer, nothing seems wrong. That illusion of safety is critical. It keeps arrogance intact. It keeps mistakes coming. This phase requires immense strength. It means sitting at the same table as the person who betrayed you and speaking calmly while your trust bleeds internally. It means resisting the urge to expose them prematurely, because exposure without preparation is chaos. Preparation without exposure is power. Legal systems, financial institutions, and contracts are slow machines, but they are merciless when properly engaged. Silent preparation means consulting lawyers without announcing it. It means securing accounts, duplicating documents, and understanding rights. It means transforming pain into precision. Every step is taken quietly, not out of fear, but out of discipline. The most underestimated part of silent preparation is psychological. The victim detaches emotionally, while the betrayer remains emotionally careless. This shift is devastating to the abuser because they mistake silence for ignorance. They grow bold, they relax. And in that overconfidence, they seal their own fate. When the moment finally arrives, revenge does not look like rage. It looks like paperwork. Court orders, frozen accounts, public consequences delivered without raised voices. The betrayer expects tears and finds control. They expect collapse and encounter calm. That contrast is the real punishment. Silent preparation proves one undeniable truth. Power does not belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who planned while others laughed. And when revenge comes without warning, without cruelty, and without chaos, it does more than punish betrayal. It restores dignity. Because the strongest response to betrayal is not destruction. It is precision. Underestimating a mother's wisdom is one of the most common and most costly mistakes a betrayer can make. It happens quietly, born from arrogance and generational blindness. Children grow up seeing their mother as familiar, predictable, and emotionally driven. They remember her tired, forgiving, always giving, so they assume softness means weakness. They confuse patience with ignorance. They forget that survival itself is an education, and that a woman who has carried a family through hardship has learned lessons no classroom can teach. A mother's wisdom is not loud. It does not boast or threaten. It watches. It listens. It remembers. While others rush to dominate situations, she measures them. While others chase immediate gain, she thinks in years, not moments. Her wisdom is forged in sacrifice, balancing bills, navigating crises, making impossible decisions without applause. It is sharpened by necessity, not theory. And that is why it is so often underestimated. It does not look like power, but it is power. The mistake begins when a child assumes familiarity equals transparency. They believe they know everything about her because they grew up in her house. They forget that parents do not reveal every fear, every plan, every precaution. Mothers especially learn early to hide strength behind calm so their children can feel safe. That hidden strength does not disappear with age, it deepens. It becomes strategic. It becomes disciplined. When a son or daughter decides to deceive, manipulate, or exploit their mother, they operate under the false belief that she is unaware, incapable, or emotionally compromised. They assume she won't question paperwork, won't understand systems, won't act decisively. They gamble on her love blinding her. What they fail to realize is that love does not erase intelligence, it sharpens it. A mother may tolerate much, but she observes everything. Underestimation is revealed in careless behavior. Smug smiles, loose words, sloppy planning. The betrayer believes they are smarter because they are younger, more tech-savvy, more aggressive. They do not see that wisdom is not about speed, it is about foresight. While they celebrate prematurely, she is connecting dots. While they assume victory, she is confirming facts. While they think she is broken, she is preparing. There is a quiet dignity in a mother who does not react immediately to betrayal. That restraint is often misread as defeat. In reality, it is calculation. She understands consequences. She understands timing. She understands that the most powerful response is not emotional exposure, but irreversible action. Her wisdom tells her when to speak, and when silence will do more damage. When the reckoning comes, it is devastating precisely because it was unexpected. The betrayer is shocked not by anger, but by clarity, not by shouting, but by certainty. They realize too late that the woman they underestimated understood the system better than they did, anticipated their moves, and prepared outcomes they cannot undo. Underestimating a mother's wisdom is not just a personal error, it is a moral one. It reveals a failure to recognize the depth of someone who gave life, stability, and protection. And when that wisdom finally stands revealed, it does not need to announce itself. Its results speak clearly enough. Because a mother's wisdom is not about revenge. It is about survival justice, and the quiet strength of knowing exactly when and how to act. Legal and psychological payback is not fueled by rage, it is driven by precision. It is the kind of reckoning that does not scream or threaten, because it does not need to. When betrayal crosses into exploitation, especially within family, justice must move beyond emotion and into structure. The law becomes the voice the victim no longer needs to raise. This form of payback is devastating precisely because it is clean, documented, and irreversible. Legal payback begins with acknowledgement. What happened was not a misunderstanding, not a family disagreement, not something that can be worked out privately. It was a violation, and violations demand consequences. Courts do not care about emotional manipulation or excuses disguised as loyalty. They care about signatures, timelines, transfers, and intent. Every unauthorized transaction becomes evidence. Every careless text or boastful message becomes a confession. The betrayer often underestimates this stage, believing family ties will soften the outcome. The law does not recognize blood as immunity. Psychological payback runs parallel but deeper. When legal systems engage, the betrayer loses control of the narrative. They are no longer the clever manipulator behind closed doors. They are a defendant, a subject, a case file. This shift is psychologically shattering. Power flips. The person who once dictated silence now answers questions. The one who exploited trust must explain actions under scrutiny. Their confidence erodes not because of humiliation, but because of exposure. What makes legal and psychological payback so effective is its restraint. There is no need for confrontation or cruelty. The victim does not need to argue, convince, or justify. The system speaks. Deadlines replace threats. Notices replace pleading. And each step forward reinforces a powerful truth: accountability is heavier than guilt. Psychologically, the betrayer is forced to face consequences without the comfort of denial. They cannot gaslight a judge. They cannot manipulate a paper trail. They cannot charm away responsibility. This is where entitlement collapses. The illusion of superiority fades when actions are measured against law instead of ego. For the victim, this form of payback restores more than assets. It restores identity. It confirms that intelligence was not lost, that trust was not foolish, and that silence was strategic, not submissive. It replaces helplessness with agency. Even when the process is exhausting, each legal step affirms dignity. Legal and psychological payback sends a clear message that echoes beyond the courtrooms. Exploitation has a cost, and love does not erase accountability. When consequences are delivered without hatred, they cut deeper. Because they cannot be dismissed as emotion, they stand as fact. Justice without violence is the highest form of power because it refuses to become what it condemns. It rejects chaos, retaliation, and destruction, choosing instead discipline, restraint, and moral clarity. In stories of betrayal, violence is often portrayed as strength. In reality, it is the refuge of those who have lost control. True justice is controlled. It is deliberate, and it leaves no collateral damage. Nonviolent justice begins with self-command. The victim resists the urge to lash out, to shame publicly, to retaliate in ways that feel satisfying but destroy credibility. This restraint is not weakness, it is strategy. Violence, whether physical or verbal, gives the betrayer an excuse to claim victimhood. Justice without violence denies them that escape. It keeps the focus where it belongs, on their actions. This form of justice is rooted in systems that outlast emotion. Law, documentation, boundaries, consequences that do not fade with time. When violence erupts, stories become messy. When justice is pursued calmly, outcomes are permanent. Assets are restored, rights are protected, futures are secured. Justice without violence also protects the soul of the victim. Revenge that destroys others often corrodes the one who delivers it. Nonviolent justice does the opposite. It heals. It allows the victim to walk away intact, unburdened by regret or moral compromise. They can say truthfully, "I did not destroy you. Your choices did." There is also a generational power in justice without violence. It models accountability rather than aggression. It teaches that consequences do not require cruelty. Especially within families, this distinction matters. Ending cycles of abuse requires firmness without brutality. Boundaries without bitterness. When justice is achieved without violence, the final victory is silence, not fear-filled silence, but peaceful silence. No more threats. No more manipulation. No more watching your back. The law stands where chaos once lived. Order replaces harm. In the end, justice without violence proves a timeless truth. The strongest response to betrayal is not force, it is integrity enforced by consequence. And that kind of justice does not fade, does not shout, and does not need applause. It simply stands. If you believe powerful stories deserve powerful endings, subscribe now for more real, intense stories of justice, strength, and truth.